Conditions were so warm in London yesterday, apparently, that ice rinks had to close when their surfaces began to melt. And in unrelated news, New Year's Day celebrations were cancelled, the swimming celebrations, because of the possibility of catching COVID from each other. Not, of course, the possibility of catching a major disease from swimming in sewage. Carefully pumped into the sea by companies that are following the government's strict instructions to do whatever they like if it makes them money. Right, here's the forecast. Tomorrow, very mild, unsettled, a mixture of sunny spells and showers or rain, heavy at times. Windy, blustery, gusty. The outlook for Monday to Wednesday. Becoming colder early next week, wintry showers, overnight frosts, before turning less cold midweek. Now, would you like to know the weather forecast, the long-range forecast for the whole of the month?
No.
First couple of weeks, a cold and frosty start, then rain, maybe heavy, perhaps some snow up north, windy, rainy in the north and the west, especially the northwest, I bet. Checking while you wait. Aha! Glasgow, raining tonight, raining tomorrow and raining on Monday, and then sunny on Tuesday. Pfft, rubbish. And sunny on Wednesday as well. Nonsense. And then raining on Thursday and raining on Friday and raining on Saturday and cloudy on Sunday, and then raining on next Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining on Friday and raining every day for the rest of your lives. Oh, well, never mind. So, first couple of weeks... that's the first couple of weeks. Cold and frosty, and then maybe snow up north, and windy and rainy, and etc. and so on. That's the first couple of weeks of January. And the second half of January, by which the end of winter is sort of in sight, really. We only have to get through February and March and April and May and June. And, and then it'll be summer. So the second half of January, wet and windy, interspersed with drier, brighter periods. Temperatures likely to remain close to or slightly above average. Changeable, in other words. Towards the end of the month, it's looking like more settled spells developing. More settled spells developing? We'll take it! Right, there's a poll that's coming out tomorrow. I'll go through that in great detail. It is priceless. This is going to be in tomorrow's Mail on Sunday. Major headline, will Partygate blow up Boris's red wall? Exclusive battleground poll, says the Mail on Sunday. Subheadline, Tory MPs panic as support plunges over rule breaking at Downing Street. Voter trust in PM wanes and Rishi back to take over. Fishy Sunak. Why is he so popular? I'll tell you why he's popular, because he's the bloke that's given out the money. You know, it's not his money. He's not being generous. I know he's a billionaire and all, but he ain't dipping into his account. It's our money. Right, here's the first couple of paragraphs. The midterm crash in support for the Conservatives in the 57 seats that Bodger gained in 2019 has led to panic among MPs who fear that they are doomed to sit in the Commons for only one term. Isn't that sad? The results of the Mail on Sunday poll are likely to fan the frenzy of bitching and backstabbing that dominates messaging sites used by the PMs, the MPs. I'm sorry, it's a little hard to read because the copy that I've got has been reduced in size by quite a considerable amount. I'm having to hold it away from me. The results of the days of the Mail on Sunday poll likely to fan the frenzy of bitching and backstabbing that dominates messaging sites used by the MPs as they speculate about which of them would be most likely to lose if an election were held tomorrow, and debate whether to submit letters of no confidence in the Prime Minister. Anybody got confidence in the Prime Minister?
No.
Not really. I think the defining picture of his premiership is going to be the one that I've seen quite a lot. Oh, it's just priceless. It's not any of the ones where he's just dived into his dressing up box and he comes out looking like a chip fryer. You know, the white coat. He thinks it makes him look like a scientist, but it just makes him appear as though he's about to ask you if you want a Saveloy with that. It's not any of those pictures. And it's not him relaxing at a cheese and wine gathering. Not any of those pictures either. It's him, I don't know where it's taken, but it's him looking like the grumpiest person in the world, pouting, his little lips in a purse, not a woman's purse. Men can have purses too, but they are pursed, and he's got his arms crossed like a grumpy bodge. It's that one. In fact, every time he is being referred to on television, I only want the TV news companies to print that, to put that picture up behind their story. Wow, this is, finally people are woken up. About time, sheeple. It's later than you think. Right, these are red wall questions. These are questions, a Delta poll survey, which the Mail says backs up anecdotal evidence from the MPs decimated by the so-called Red Walkers, who seized former Labour strongholds. Red Walkers. Oh, Wallers. The printing on this is so tiny, you wouldn't believe it. It's amazing I can read any of it. I'm not looking at the actual paper. I'm looking at a copy of what is about to appear tomorrow. It's microscopic. You need a magnifying glass to read this. But I'll struggle through. You know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
So these are Red Wallers, not Red Walkers. That sounds like something out of Game of Thrones. The Red Wallers are panicking. Red Wallers released a statement. They said, and Johnson has become a drag on their fortunes, they say. Well, here's the news. You're only in your position, you Red Wallers, because of Bodger Johnson. He used to be the politician that like the Heineken politician. He could reach the parts that the other Tories couldn't reach. I suppose it only took us a while to get used to him. You know, people can be very, very popular before you meet them. But we've been in his company for 2 years now. How's that working out for us?
Oh, fabulous.
All right, these are red wall questions. There's quite a few of them. And each and every one of them is going to make Bodger freak out when he reads this. I would imagine he's staring holes in it. He's like burning the paper with his eyes at this moment. It must have been delivered to him toot sweet by some trembling underling. He just pushed it under the door. When asked if Mr. Johnson was doing well, only 34% of voters in the seats agreed. Which makes me think, what are 34% of the voters thinking? These are red wall seats, remember. Right, red wall questions. Is Boris Johnson doing well? Yes, 34%. No, 62%. That's a minus 28% score. Minus is not positive. It is, in fact...
negative.
Is Keir Starmer doing well? Well, who can tell? I mean, the man is practically invisible. The only thing that we've ever seen is he's got a fantastic hairstyle.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I agree with Donald Trump. So they asked for their preferred team to run the country. Is it going to be Bodger Johnson and Rishi Sunak, or Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves? Now, despite the supposed popularity of Fishy Sunak, by a long chalk, the people that were expressing a preference said Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves. They're on 40%, and Bodger and Fishy on 33%. Wow. This is like Christmas and New Year all come at once. Finally. Is the government doing the right thing with COVID, people were asked.
No.
Came the reply. Absolutely. No, 49%. Yes, said 38%. Oh, it just gets worse and worse. Or better and better, depending on your point of view. I'll come back and do some more of this. Will Partygate blow up Boris's red wall? Screams the Mail on Sunday. Well, it's not just Partygate. But if that's the thing that actually makes people think, oh, well, OK, that's it. We're leaving. Then that seems to be pretty extraordinary. I mean, it's a bit thin, isn't it? OK, so they had a party. I mean, does anybody actually expect that they think that the rules that they apply to us apply to them too? I mean, if you had to put money on it and you didn't know anything about Partygate or any of the other transgressions that have been reported, then you would have to say, I mean, if your actual money was dependent on it, you'd have to say, no, of course they're not applying the rules that they insist that we obey to themselves. I mean, you'd be nuts to say otherwise. You know, there's also the small thing about Brexit. Every single one of their promises turning out to be utterly, totally and completely hollow. They've told us mistruths over and over again. Liar! Exactly. No benefits at all. Not one single one. I'll throw the lines open. Can you name one single positive thing that has come out of Brexit? At all. Not one. Zero. There aren't any. All of the things that they said were going to be, we're going to have cheaper clothes and cheaper food and cheaper this, that, and the other. In fact, I remember Smoke saying the exact same thing.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Yeah, well, that I believe. Oh, you're going to have cheaper clothes and one will have cheaper shoes. Yeah, didn't work out that way, did it? And there wasn't £350 million for the NHS. In fact, it was the exact reverse of that. Everything was more expensive and more difficult. There wasn't a bonfire of red tape. There's now a mountain of red tape that you couldn't get through with a pickaxe. All of the lying over and over again. Even when caught with a lie, they'll try to lie their way out of it. It's like they can't help themselves. They've gone down the path of misinformation and they refuse to back out. That's it's the only thing they won't U-turn on. And there's also the small matter of 150,000 dead people. And the missteps over and over again. The only positive thing about their reaction to COVID is the one thing that they left alone. The vaccine. They allowed experts to dole that out rather than try to figure out some way of giving the contracts to their mates. So none of that seems to affect us, our opinion of the government at all. But, oh my God, they had a party. Well, that's where we draw the line. It seems a bit thin, but, there it is. They got Al Capone on tax evasion. Vegan Lizzie texts, I just finished listening to last night's show after a 12-hour shift. And it turns out that it's 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Another night with Nico. We nurses never know what day of the week it is. I am a satisfied customer, says Vegan Lizzie. Well, appreciate it, Vegan Lizzie.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work. You know, I went home last night. The centre of London was quite clogged. I think partly because there were so many ambulances out. A lot of people, for some strange reason, needed the help of medical teams.
Booze.
Might have had something to do with it. And it did occur to me that all of those people, the people in the ambulances, of which there were a lot, they were all working on New Year's Eve. I mean, I know I was working on New Year's Eve, but this isn't really what you might call work, is it? Not really. So, and do they get our thanks? Not really. I mean, it looked like they had to walk around in stab vests. What kind of a moron would stab somebody who is coming to give them medical assistance? But they're everywhere. So I just thought, I wonder if people are aware that, that there's a lot of people who are actually keeping the country going and keeping us safe. And working on New Year's and all the way over Christmas, and just like a Vegan Lizzie there doing 12-hour shifts. And do they get sufficient to thanks? Not really.
Thank you.
I know that's not really sufficient. It might be nice if they were actually financially better rewarded. But as they haven't donated money to the Conservative Party, they get nothing. You had the opportunity, you nurses, to donate £3 million to the Conservative Party, but you chose not to, so you get nothing. Paul tweets, Happy New Year, Nick. What's left of it? Yes. I don't know. Is everybody completely satisfied with this year yet?
No.
It seems a bit like last year's. Better keep the receipt. Let's have Faversham. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Nick.
Peter.
I wanted to get this off my chest, Nick.
Yes.
The other day on the radio, a lady came on and I'm sure she's a very nice person, but she says, I want to vote Labour, but I can't because of Keir Starmer. And she went on, and everything she said, I read that in the paper.
Well, what specifically was she complaining about?
Oh, that he's weak,
Oh,
and he's no, yeah. And I thought to myself, she's repeating everything was in the papers.
Yeah.
But people don't understand, Nick, that the papers are owned by millionaires and billionaires.
Offshore billionaires who try to control this country by remote control from abroad.
Yeah, and I would rather have, Nick, an honest Prime Minister like Keir Starmer than a lying Prime Minister like Johnson. And but people believe what's in them papers. They read them words and they think it's gospel. They think, I'd rather have Keir Starmer.
I think the way we are now is that we appear to think that unless a politician is entertaining, unless he or she gives us jokes and does an act and, all of that stuff, then they are weak and they don't have any policies and why should we vote for them? And I'm not being entertained here, for crying out loud. Could we go back to when a politician was a politician and we had, if you wanted to be an entertainer, then be Ant and Dec.
No one knows how Keir Starmer's going to be as a Prime Minister because he's never been a Prime Minister. All I know is he seems to me, I don't know him personally, but he seems to me an honest man.
Well, he seems to be a decent man whose first thought might not be to give billions and billions of pounds of public money to whoever has been his personal donor.
Yes, and Johnson's party has put all the taxes up. Well, they promised they wasn't going to. And there's people on the radio saying, Boris, and they call him by his first name.
That's really grating on me. Yeah, I like a lot. Yeah, Boris, he's our pet. He's not a pet. He's not a teddy bear.
And like in the Sun paper, Blair's got a knighthood. But when it comes to Johnson, it's always Boris.
He gets a pass for, up to this point in his life, he's got a pass for everything because of his act, the funny hair and the funny suits and the way he appears not to be able to dress himself. He makes people think, here's the phrase that I've heard so many times last year, I never want to hear it again. Oh, leave him alone. He's doing his best. Like he's a 5-year-old who's been tasked with tidying up his room and has made a bodge of it.
I mean, they call him Boris. They don't know him.
Of course not.
It's Johnson. And Tony Blair won 3 elections. He should have been knighted years ago.
All of that. Now, don't try to sell me on that funny badges and names and titles malarkey, that racket. Because you just won't. I think the entire thing should be shelved immediately. It's just ridiculous.
And I just want to say the last thing, Nick. I love your show, and I always look forward to it, 10 o'clock.
Well, appreciate it, Peter. Thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. This furious anonymous tweet says, Nick Abbott tells us it's not Rishi Sunak's own money that he's giving us. However, it was the EU giving us their own money. Well, first of all, I've never said that. But that's about par for the course. You make up something that I hadn't said, that I've never said, and then criticise me for saying it. Criticise me for saying something I've never said is about par for the course. It's not Rishi Sunak's own money. Well, it isn't. And yet that's the basis for his popularity. Either that or his selection of cashmere hoodies. I mean, nothing else about him. I mean, name me one other thing about Rishi Sunak that you like. Well, what is it that you like about him? What makes him so popular? You don't know anything about him. You've got absolutely no clue about anything about him other than that he's got hundreds of millions of pounds and his wife's got billions of pounds. Other than that, what do you know? Nothing. Other than he's the bloke that was giving out the money. I think the popularity rests on us not knowing much about him, as was the case with Bodger Johnson. It's just that we've been sharing a bed with him, metaphorically speaking.
Disgusting.
As awful as that sounds, for just enough for now to know him well enough to not think well of him anymore. And as for the EU giving us their own money, well, of course it wasn't their own money, but you put the money in a big pot, and what the EU tends to do is to help out those that need it most, as the good people of Cornwall and Wales and the north of England are finding to their cost. Because now the EU isn't funding their various little schemes, the government is loath to actually, replace the money that is now missing from the EU. As you were warned, by the way, before the Brexit vote, people were telling you that was going to happen, and you thought...
No.
No, you thought, no, Boris has promised. Yeah, how's that working out?
Dreadful.
Yeah, so the EU puts all the money in a big pot and does its best to help out those most in need. In this country, we put all the money in a big pot and someone takes it out and paves a Viscount's driveway with it. I'll just pause and let that sink in for a moment. A Viscount, a multi-millionaire who owns hundreds of houses and pubs and a mansion, and he's got old masters on the wall. We paid to pave his driveway. I think we've reached peak Tory. Tell me anything more Tory than that. I can't imagine it. What a way to run a country, eh? Alice says, Nick, don't forget that it only took 33% to elect him because of our voting system and a lowish poll. Well, yes, but yet again, we have another majority Conservative government that was elected by a minority of the population. It's bizarre. It just keeps happening like that over and over, almost like it's been rigged. Let's have broccoli. Liam.
Hi, good evening, Nick. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
To you and the team.
Thanks.
I just wanted to say, do you think that the crystal ball has a crack in it in Downing Street that Boris Johnson looks in, and he would be better off having a speed dial to Mystic Meg, who might get the predictions right?
Wow, that's very, very complicated. I think you lost me about after the first sentence.
Right, so
What?
I think Boris Johnson is sitting in Downing Street with a crystal ball, gazing into it, but it's got a crack in it, trying to make predictions that are always wrong. Wouldn't he be better off on speed dial to Mystic Meg? Because surely she'd be able to get things sorted out much better.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll consider that, Liam. Get Mystic Meg on the phone. Of course, she knows we're calling. She's not picking up, Liam. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Graham texts, I don't recall Brian Sewell saying we'd get cheaper shoes. Is that what I sounded like? Buttocks. Did anybody see that thing that Brian Sewell did on Italy? He went around Italy for Channel 5, weirdly. It's really not the kind of thing that's up their alley, you wouldn't think. But he went around Italy pointing at art and statues. And every time he would come up to a statue, he'd always remark on, oh, their buttocks, look at the buttocks. I know I said this before, but a long time ago, everybody sing!
Rock and roll!
I interviewed Brian Sewell on the radio. He was all like that. The only person that talks as posh as him is Smug.
I don't know anything.
Say it again.
I don't know anything.
One more time.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, the only person that I've ever heard that talks like that, there's strangulated vowel, like that, was Brian Sewell. After interviewing him, I've got no idea what it was about for about 5 minutes. I said, do you really talk like this? And he said, well, of course I do. I don't know. It seemed very like it would take a lot of effort to me. Sorry. Hello, Milan.
Hi. Happy New Year. Oh, Nick, I've got a W and I've got a V. Am I too late?
Too late.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Happy New Year anyway.
Happy New Year.
I don't know what I'm more afraid of, doing a lateral flow test or weighing myself, given the amount of food.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to talk about
Johnson and Co. I don't know about you, but I'm really surprised in the last month, like, the amount of people who've piped up and they've gone, this is shocking. Johnson and Co. they're corrupt and they're sleazy. And I'm scratching my head going, we've known this for about a couple of years.
Yes.
Where have you been?
That's right. Hello, wake up.
I could list off at least 10 examples of, like, this shows that this government think that they're in a dictatorship, sticking two fingers up at Parliament, at the ministerial code, at the independent regulators. So all of that doesn't register.
Apparently not. No. And people say, they haven't learned their lesson. But they have learned their lesson. And the lesson is they can do anything they like without consequence.
Yeah, of course. And because they've got away with it for so long, and the public, portions of their fans have let them get away with it, why wouldn't they push the envelope even more and say, let's see what more we can get away with?
I've been saying this for ages now. It seems to me that they wake up in the morning and think, what can we do to them today? How far can we push them? Well, prod them with a stick and see if they squeal. And they do it like on a daily basis, and with up to this point, zero consequence. Yeah,
it's weird, and it's like in the last month. If I came up to you, Nick, and I said, Nick, I've just heard some shocking news. Apparently, I've just heard that the Pope is Catholic. Can you believe that? Well, we've known that for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you know, he's an absolute charlatan, but I know a way of which his career can be saved.
Really?
If I can reveal that.
Go on.
Because for the whole of January, he has to avoid doing interviews, and he has to ring up his mates at the Daily Telegraph, the Sun and the Express, and just say, do you know what? We're going to throw loads of red meat at my fans, and all you got to do is write loads of anti-EU stories, and I'm going to bang my fist on the table and say how the EU have been mean to us, and that will bring all my fans on side. Even though it's completely wrong and completely false, who cares? Because my fans don't like facts. My fans just want slogans.
But they've been doing that for the last year. I thought that's what they were doing. Pretending that our misfortune was the European Union being mean to us, and the reason that Brexit wasn't working was because of Emmanuel Macron and all this ridiculous stuff that and still sticking to they need us more than we need them. And when we call them up on the phone, they say Britain. It doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, exactly. But now with the new restrictions that have come in, checks as of now, when imports, businesses are just going to think, why are we going to import stuff from the EU? Mr. Johnson will think, this is all the EU's fault. I guarantee it, in the next week, with the help of the Telegraph and certain media commentators, loads of red meat will be thrown to their fans, and then you get anti-EU messaging, complete lies. But then he'll get his fans back on side because his fans are really fickle like that, and we've seen it before.
Yes, well, they want to believe. That's the benefit of being in a cult. It's like a religion. It's faith over evidence. There is no evidence with which to comfort themselves, so they just rely on faith, the adherence to the word of the dear leader. But it's becoming increasingly hard for even the faithful to maintain subservience.
Yeah, and I guess it's difficult for their fans to admit, do you know what? I made a huge mistake.
Big loss of face. Yeah, big loss of face. Huge.
Exactly.
Because nobody wants to admit that they've been had, because it's embarrassing. It makes you think, well, I mean, everybody was telling me that I was doing the wrong thing, and I refused to believe them, but it turns out that they were right. But I can't admit that now because that would make me look foolish.
Exactly. And guess who they'll blame? They'll blame you and James O'Brien.
Oh, well, there's something to look forward to. All right. Thanks a lot, Milan. 0345 6060 973. John says, please tell me I am dreaming. I understand that Tony Blair has acquired a knighthood. I can't believe it, says John. Really? You can't believe it, John? What, a member of the establishment is rewarded by the establishment? Which part of that can't you believe? Harvey texts, the vaccination programme is a big positive from Brexit. No, Harvey. I know that the government keeps saying that over and over again in expectation of you not looking it up. But that's not true. We could have had the exact same vaccine rollout inside or outside the European Union. It wouldn't have made the slightest bit of difference. Those are the EU rules. In an emergency, you can do anything you like. But that's and that is an indication of how badly Brexit has gone, that they are scrabbling around and making up benefits for having left, because they can't put their finger on any actual benefits. And so they're pretending that we couldn't have had the vaccine rollout if we were still in the European Union. And, by the way, many countries in the European Union are way ahead of us at the moment. We're about mid-table in the world. But they won't tell you that. They will, the government will continue to tell you that our vaccine rollout is world-beating. But it isn't. If you, or rather, it is world-beating if you don't count half of the world. 0345 6060 973. Let's have East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Great A to Z you've just completed.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. They're my favourite shows of the year. And if you missed any of them and you want to catch up, by the way, they are available as podcasts. It's a podcast that we put up. This show will also get put up as a podcast. It's called Nick Abbott, The Whole Show. If you do an internet search on my name, Nick Abbott, and podcasts, then the three that I do will come up. But if you want to catch the A to Z, which was a lot of fun, then you'll find them there as podcasts. We take the news and the ads out, so they take less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity and won't have to sell your children to pay your fuel bill.
Have you finished?
Yes.
Yeah. It just startles me that you get people complaining about Tony Blair getting a knighthood.
Yeah.
But the same people, you don't get a peep when Saxon Goldsmith, Boris's brother, and Frost all get lordships.
Ridiculous.
They don't say a peep about that.
Well,
it's quite amazing.
I say this every time these lists come out. The celebrities, the sports people, they're a smokescreen for what is the actual purpose of these badges and funny titles, which is for the establishment to maintain power and money in the hands of those that already have it. That's the purpose of it. It's giving out awards to politicians and civil servants who keep stum about things that they know about the regime. Just keep quiet, nod your head and smile, and if you can do that for a couple of decades and not spill any secrets, then we'll stick you up the House of Lords. It's just all so crooked.
Absolutely. And talking about crooked, what I can't get my head around is why the population don't realise for weeks we've been told we don't need any more restrictions, but they've now announced they're going to build 8 emergency Nightingale hospitals. And Sajid Javid has tripled the order for tests for February. So they're not thinking it's going away in January. And yet all these things, we don't need restrictions, but we do need emergency hospitals, and we need millions and billions of tests.
Here's how desperate his fans are getting, that they're actually rewarding him with praise for not doing anything. He hasn't thought about doing something, about, allowing freedoms and you don't have to go inside as other countries are doing or any of this sort of stuff. They're rewarding him for not doing anything. It's not that he's thought about all the possibilities and decided on a course of action. He just hasn't done anything. And that's the level that we're at now, praising him for not screwing it up.
Yeah, for dillying and dallying and delaying. I mean, it's what he's done the whole pandemic. You wouldn't expect anything different.
Well, it's what he's done. It's what he's done his entire life. His entire life of dillying and dallying.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
That act, that sort of who me? Gosh, all that. That's what he does. That's how he's been getting away with it, whatever it may be at any one time, his entire life. And it seems that maybe, just maybe, that act has worn thin, even with his most vociferous adherents.
Yeah, the Red Wallers will get him in the end.
Well, maybe. Yeah, we'll see. I'm sort of halfway through this poll. We're not even halfway. God, there's so many questions on this, none of which he's going to like reading. Southampton. Hello, Simon.
Nick, good evening.
Simon.
I've got some absolutely fantastic news.
Please, lay it on us.
Right. Well, can I come to that in a minute? Because I've got some other things.
Oh, forthcoming attractions. I'm very excited.
I want to keep you in suspense. First of all, I'm a bit confused as to how come Johnson does not know how he is really perceived. I'm guessing he doesn't listen to your show.
Yeah, I would very much doubt it. I think that he's the kind of person who doesn't hear other people's criticisms of him. I'm sure he goes around with his own personal soundtrack of laughter and applause that follows him wherever he goes, whether it actually does or not.
It must be. It's got to be something because, this guy, he is so disliked by so many people, and it doesn't seem to affect. It doesn't even seem to make him want to do better. That's the thing that I don't understand.
He's been getting away with it his entire life.
Yeah.
He's like any. I mean, what would you describe it? Like a spoilt baby.
Yeah.
Of course, he's not going to change what he does because the thing that he does has been working for him forever.
But it's just so Tory, isn't it? Me, 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 me. Well,
I don't think selfishness is necessarily a Conservative Party trait, but it's him up and down.
I don't know. All this blimey bloody freedoms and God knows what. I don't know.
I think the gaslighting part is totally Tory, to telling us that our freedoms are their top priority while taking them away. That is totally Tory.
Yeah, well, I mean, I couldn't believe it when it was on the news last night and he's saying about we're going to get serious Brexit benefits and we're going full steam ahead. Oh, please.
We're going to go faster and further.
Yeah, and you just know that there are some people in this country that are going to be lapping that up.
Yeah.
Right,
well, specifically, they'll be lapping it up because they are still they're still waiting. They're still in want of Brexit benefits. And to have it explained to them or for it to become apparent that there aren't any is going to be too ruinous to their self-esteem. So they will keep hoping ever harder.
I have faith, and I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of disappointed Brexiters at the next general election. My fingers are firmly crossed.
Well, they will be disappointed, but it's just who they blame for that disappointment that's the thing, because they will be invited to blame the EU, because, the EU is in a strop because they want to punish us for leaving their socialist collective. So Brexit would have been or everything that has been advertised if only it wasn't for the evil Emmanuel Macron or Germany or whoever it might be.
I know, and yet if it was the other way around and Johnson was the Macron, they would think that he was the best thing since sliced bread because he was sticking one up to us. Anyway, can you?
Is this the good news? Is this the good news part?
I've got one more quick one before the good news.
Right.
I just wanted to put an appeal out to one of your listeners, if I can.
Okay.
Mike from Beverley, right, if you say absolutely one more time...
Absolutely.
I'm going to come and find you and put tape over your mouth.
Yes.
Right. So stop with the absolutely.
Right.
And here comes the good news. Here comes the good news.
Go on.
Here it comes. We're building a load more Nightingale hospitals, right?
Is that the good news?
But what the good news? It must stand to reason that we've now got enough medical staff to staff them.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because they couldn't use the other ones because they didn't have enough nurses.
Right. Yeah, there's a small problem about that. It's not a hospital if it hasn't got any medical people in it. It's just a bed. It's just a warehouse for beds.
Yeah, but if it's got you stumped me there. But I just assume that because we're now building them, we must have.
Well,
I'm obviously. Hang on, let me pull my tongue. Let me pull my tongue right out of my cheek at this point.
Okay, I get it, Simon. That he's being sarcastic. a listener with material.
Oh, no.
Yeah, if it's not staffed with medical professionals, it's just a warehouse for medical equipment. You know, the machines that go bing. And beds. They could open, they could open a bed discount centre. Coming to a location near you. Francis tweets, one positive of Brexit is the increased chance of a united Ireland. Well, that's true. And Jack says, don't forget the blue passports. Yes. Yeah, that's about all we've got so far. I mean, I know I've asked this question on the air before, and I've got absolutely nothing in return. I mean, I'm not. It's not a trick question. I'm throwing it out there. But no matter how many times I ask, nobody can come up with a single thing. What have we got that's beneficial from Brexit? Is there anything at all? Nothing. It's been a year. I mean, how long does it take? Today, it's got more difficult to wrest a benefit. I mean, up to now, there's been far fewer regulations and hoops and less red tape. But that's going to increase dramatically as of today. Or probably more accurately when people get back to work, which might be Tuesday or next week, depending. But you're in for a big surprise. Huge, if you're not prepared. And most businesses, by all accounts, by insider accounts, are not prepared. Particularly the small ones. I mean, the big ones, they got the money and they can just chuck cash at the problem and bring in underlings and they can make the issue go away. But small ones, well, it's not going to get any better. Hate to break the news to you. Leicester, hello, David.
Hello. Well, I've just been listening to the conversation.
David, can you get a bit nearer the phone?
Is that better?
Oh, much better. There you are.
All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, advantages of Brexit. We haven't had to bail out any of these southern European countries, which if we were to remain in the EU, we'd have probably ended up spending millions helping them out.
Yeah, you understand, David, that by helping out places that are poorer than us, like, you know, Cornwall or Wales, for instance, or the north of England, all these places that life has not gifted as much as, the rich south of England, you know that by helping them out, you do actually benefit those that are giving out the money because you create customers for whatever it is that you're trying to sell. It's not just a one-way street.
Yeah, but
it's the same thing with foreign aid. We're not doing it because we're nice. We're doing it because it benefits us.
No. The Italians and the Spanish have been bailed out by the German banks again. I'm not going into it anyway because that's not why I rang.
But you just did go into it, and I'm telling you that what you're saying is not true.
It's true. We'd have had to spend money bailing them out.
Yeah, you're not listening to what I'm saying, David. The money doesn't go just in one way. It comes back. They buy what we sell.
Yeah, really? Well, I'm not...
Or at least they used to before we shot ourselves in the foot by creating barriers to our trade with our biggest market. But, I suppose Boris Johnson knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I tried to put a petition on the Parliament website, but it wouldn't let me do it because it has to be gone through
official channels. Official channels. Yeah, they will only accept a poll that they actually want to accept.
To have Tony Blair's knighthood officially revoked.
Right. Now, because why are you wasting your time? They've only just given him one.
Yeah, that's what I thought exactly. But I went on to change.org, and there's already 3 petitions there that are gaining traction. But
so what difference does it make, David? The establishment awards funny names and titles and badges to itself. Always has, always will. In order that the establishment maintains control of the money and the power.
Robert Mugabe, former Prime Minister of Zimbabwe, had an honorary knighthood. He had that removed because of his human rights records and what he'd done to people. Tony Blair did exactly the same thing in international law with the invasion of Iraq. It's just bad.
Right.
They're as bad as each other.
David, you're wasting your time. You want to start a poll. For what purpose? You're not going to get anywhere. Why bother?
Well, Okay.
I mean, you'd be better off doing something else with your time, like, I don't know, staring out the window, or clipping your nails, or writing a book, or reading a book. Read a comic. Ricky tweets, "Hey, Ricky, you're so fine, you blow my mind, dear Ricky." He says, "The Blair knighthood wasn't given by the government. He will be a Knight of the Garter, and they is in the Queen's gift, not Bodger." The Queen doesn't sit down and write these lists. The government writes the list and then gives them to the Queen. She signs them off. But I don't even know she looks at them. So it ain't her. Jack tweets, oh no, I've read that. The blue passports. Blue passports! That was worth the money that we've given up and the diminishment of our horizons. Pamela tweets, "I have a Brexit bonus. All of the Brits who are living under the radar in Spain, many of whom voted for Brexit, have had to return to the UK, which is definitely a bonus." I'm not sure that's right. I think by a long chalk, most of the people who are in Spain, like expats in Europe, they did not vote for Brexit because they knew what they particularly knew what they were voting for. They did. There was, they'd be daft to vote any other way. Oh, can you imagine that? You've worked all your life and are enjoying a sunny, balmy holiday in the south of Spain. Wouldn't that be marvellous? Or anywhere in Spain, as a matter of fact. And every day is just another sunny day. And you have to back up and come back here. Damp and cold and grey and everybody moaning.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Never mind, eh? 0345 6060 973. Birmingham, Vidu.
Oh, hi. Happy New Year to you and everyone else.
Happy New Year.
Yes. Actually, I rung to gloat.
Oh, yeah.
In a very kind, gentle way.
Go on.
You don't sound like that. You had a programme about Angela Rayner when she sort of called Boris Johnson scum.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a programme about it.
Oh, no, you had a whole hour devoted to her, I think.
Did I? I don't think so. No, not me. No.
You did.
Well, I don't devote hours to anything on this show.
1 hour.
No, it just comes and goes, and wherever we go, we go. On Friday and Saturday, anyway.
You sounded very despairing of her calling him scum because it just wasn't the right way to behave.
Vidu, you are talking about somebody else on the air. You are listening to somebody else. But anyway, go on.
No, it was you, honest.
Well,
honest.
It wasn't. But
anyway, I rang up to defend her. And I also said that people will see the right way with Boris Johnson and they will find him out for what he is, and that I was an eternal optimist.
Right.
That's what I said.
Well, how's that optimism working out for you?
Very well, because I think a lot.
That's an optimistic point of view.
I am optimistic because I've got my friend. I won't tell you his name.
What's his name?
He's done a lot of good work around my house.
Is it Dave? John? Barry?
It could be.
Sid?
It could be Dave. Let's call him Dave.
Dave.
He right firm Brexiteer. He fell out of favour with it. Well, he had a flaming row with his son.
Oh, that Dave. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that Dave. And he hadn't spoken to him until last week.
Right.
So anyway, his last line of defence for Boris was, well, actually, no other PM has ever faced a pandemic.
Oh, God.
I said, you're totally right.
Which is, in a nutshell, leave him alone, he's doing his best.
Yeah. I mean, I will add one more thing before I go, and that is I have good advice to give to the Labour Party and to Angela Rayner. If you're going to come up with names, then come up with Latin names.
Yeah.
So instead of calling him scum, you need to come up with things like sputan, which is scum in Latin.
Is it?
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Well, that's excellent work there, Vidu. Every now and again, this show is an education, isn't it?
No.
Not really. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Gordon says, Keir Starmer apparently wants to be a vote-winning combination of Attlee and Blair. On the evidence so far, it seems to be Blair's unshakable belief in socialism combined with Attlee's charisma and charm. but I could be wrong. Another listener with material.
Oh, no.
Higgs tweets, have some New Year's Day spirit and leave Boris alone, he's doing his best. Oh. Thanks, Higgs. Appreciate it. And Archie says, when the electricity bills come in and the shelves are bare and we can't demonstrate, what will we think? Or rather, will we think what the? ? Yeah, we'll be encouraged to blame France. And people will say, well, you know what, it wouldn't have been any better under Jeremy Corbyn or Keir Starmer or whoever it might be. As though they have some sort of like crystal ball they've stared in and determined that nobody on earth could have done any better. Well, here's the news. Almost every country on earth has done better than we have, as far as deaths and hits to the economy is concerned. It's just this puff piece that you probably read, maybe just in passing, that I think it was like, I don't know, some economists were saying, oh, well, this country is going to be leading the world in the economic bounce back. Well, yeah, the one small problem with that is that we were leading the world with the economic crash. And a percentage increase of a smaller amount does not make up for a massive reduction in the first place. I mean, if I had two piles of money, one was £1 and one was £10, and I offered to increase the pound by 100%, and I offered to increase the £10 by only 10%, would you pick the 100% increase of the pound or the 10% increase of the tenner? Which pile would you choose? And if you choose the 100% of the £1, thinking that is a leading bounce back, then I have a genuine made-in-China Rolex watch I'd like to sell you. Portsmouth. Hello, Harry.
Oh, yes, hello there, Nick.
Hello, Harry.
Wouldn't it be very odd if we had a referendum on all the honours and perhaps a particular box for whether Mr. Blair, Sir Tony, should keep his award? That would cause almost as much angst as the EU referendum caused.
The whole thing should be scrapped. All of it. The Lords, yes. Every single Lord should get fired. Yes. We should elect the entire upper house. I thought that was the reason that we were leaving the European Union, because we didn't want to be ruled by unelected bureaucrats. We've got more unelected bureaucrats than any other country on earth except China.
Of course, they also say our parliament, I like the size of our parliament, not the building, that should be removed, and we should all be put around the country.
That's a pretty.
So they're in touch with us.
Well, that perhaps yes. I mean, they're going to be chucked out of that building because it needs. Yeah, first of all, it needed £3 billion of repairs, and now they say that it's going to need something like £14 billion.
What?
£14 billion was the last number that I read. But you can't pull that building down; it's too important. It's a beautiful building.
Well, just turn it into a museum, but you won't have to have all the fripperies that those MPs desire.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah,
we make no profit off the MPs because their food is subsidised because it doesn't make a profit.
Not just their food, booze too.
I was going to say though, you were talking about advantages of leaving the EU.
Yes.
Well, we did slow down the progress of the European army, because long term they'd just love to combine the European Union into NATO, so all the finances are all tied up with the actual action. And
but that's a good thing to you.
Where will we go with Ukraine?
Why would that be a good thing?
Well, it'd be a good thing for Europe because that's what they want. America doesn't want to pay for NATO. They see it as a European thing.
That's total nonsense. What are you talking about?
They pay for a lot of it.
America doesn't want to pay. Trump didn't want to pay for it, but Trump doesn't want to pay for anything that doesn't benefit Donald Trump personally.
But you're talking about how to get rid of BJ. Well, I think the Red Wall MPs will demand that he's eased out. There's no way he'll win an election in 2 years' time. There's been too much water under the bridge.
Well, I wouldn't put it. I wouldn't put it past him. Don't write him off yet. But if it happened tomorrow, if there was an election tomorrow, thanks, Harry, then it's curtains Curtains for Bodge. Most of the people that we are familiar with from the cabinet, they'd be all out in area. And all of those Red Wall Tories, they'd be looking for something else to do. Be signing on. So this is the poll that's in tomorrow's Mail on Sunday. Wow, I just can't believe it. I mean, how quickly political fortunes change, eh? And over the silliest thing. It's like I said, of all the things to change people's minds about Bodge and his this catastrophic clown show, the fact that they had a party when they were instructing us not to, that's what changed people's minds. God, that seems so superficial, don't it? And like I said before, if we didn't know that they had parties, if you had to bet on them one way or another, breaking the rules that they set for us, if you had to put your actual money on it with no inside knowledge, then you would have to assume that they would be breaking the rules, wouldn't you? If you had to put your own cash on it, you'd put it on them breaking the rules. So it's not like we don't know that. It's not like we are unfamiliar with who they are. So just to base this switch in our allegiance on such a thin reason, I don't recognise this country anymore. What is going on here? So all of these questions come out badly for the Bodge. Is Boris Johnson doing well? Yes, 34%. 64% say no. And furthermore... No. The preferred team is Boris and Rishi, says 33%. Starmer and Rachel Reeves, 40%. So it's not only that they dislike him and his ilk, the people in the Red Wall now have switched back to the Labour Party. Is the government doing the right thing with COVID? No, says 49%. Yes, 38%. Is Boris doing well? Is Boris personally doing well over COVID? No, says 62%. Every time that Boris Johnson's name comes up in a similar question, to the Conservatives, and then his name comes up, the poll dives on the mention of his name. Who would make the best PM? This is the first time I've seen a poll that says Keir Starmer would make a better PM than Boris Johnson. He's got a 5-point lead now. Is the Tory party united? No, says 63%. Yes, says 20%. Wow. And do you trust Boris to get Brexit done? You see, you might think that Brexit has been got done already, because, that's what they promised. He said he was going to get Brexit done. Still hasn't got Brexit done. You got David Frost, that that negotiating expert. He flounced out saying, right, that's it, I can't take it anymore. He wanted to know who was the idiot that had negotiated this Brexit deal. I'm going to send him a mirror in the post. Do you trust Boris to grow the economy? No, says 53%. Yes, says 39%. I don't even need to tell you where this next one's going. Do you trust Boris to level up? Yeah, that's a big no. Huge. Massive.
No.
Definitely. Now we know what levelling up actually means. I mean, this story came and went. But under cover of Christmas. I can't believe... Well, no, that's not true. I can believe it. That's what's alarming. It's utterly, totally and completely believable. When the government, says the Mail, when the government announces levelling up grants to support left-behind communities, few could have predicted how literally one claimant would take it. No, everybody could have predicted how this was going to go. Nor would they have thought, says the Mail, that an aristocrat would end up benefiting from the money pot. Well, I think that we would have thought that. If you asked us one way or the other, we would have said yes, of course. Of course they will. £330,000 of your money was spent making a bumpy driveway owned by the 8th Viscount Gage level once more. Puh! A close friend of Prince Philip. Of course he is. Lord Gage, 87, was dubbed the virile... Oh, this is way too much information.
Disgusting.
I'll skip over that part for you. He went to Eton. Of course he did. The Eton and Oxford-educated former Tory peer. has questions to answer, says the Mail, over why the vast sum of taxpayers' money, £250,000, was spent filling in over half a mile of potholes on his land in East Sussex. His wealth has been estimated at £15 million. His Firle estate management team helped the Charleston Trust secure the cash from the Getting Building Fund, one of the Levelling Up Department's grants specifically aimed at helping COVID-hit infrastructure. The track's over a mile from Lord Gage's £10 million Tudor Manor. Agricultural vehicles serving one of the Viscount's 7 farms use it, as well as locals living in some of the 114 houses he owns, dotted across 7,500 acres of the Sussex Downs. The walls of Lord Gage's mansion, used to film Jonathan Creek, are adorned with paintings by Van Dyck and Gainsborough. Of course they are. In 1999, he sold a 16th century masterpiece by Fra Bartolomeo for £14.5 million. What? For a painting on his wall. And when asked by this, the Department of Levelling Up said, don't question us, peasant, or words to that effect. 0345. And like I said before, I think with that story, we may have actually reached peak Tory. I don't think it gets any Torier than that. Hicks tweets, have some New Year's Day spirit and leave Boris alone, he's doing his best. Is that one that I've read already, or is that a similar one to one I have dealt with some time ago? Hard to tell. Aggie emails. Aggie. Nick, you're complaining about Boris Johnson lying, and you're right, he does. But we learned today that lying gets you a knighthood. Yeah, lying and cheating and conniving. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, all manner of finagling will get you a funny title and a badge. It seems like the bigger the crook, the higher, the grander the title. I mean, the House of Lords. Oh, I mean, it's less like the second chamber and more like a police identity parade. Let's have San Miguel, Alicante. Hello, Jane.
Oh, hi, Nick. Sorry, I was just laughing. Firstly, thank you for your sanity.
Thanks, Jane.
My weekly dose of sanity, thank God.
Yes.
You were referring earlier to the expats in Spain not voting for Brexit.
Well, that's my understanding.
Yeah. Can I give you my microscopic
your experience? Yes.
View.
Mm-hmm.
They voted for Brexit because they believed, because they owned a second home here, that it just wouldn't affect them.
Right. That makes sense.
And they're now on the forum, as you would say,
freaking out.
Totally. And because they have no official papers, they now can no longer come backwards and forwards, rent their places out,
right,
pay no tax, completely ignore Spanish culture, and make it a hellhole of expats all in a pack. I think that's me being kind.
Right. And so in your experience then, the people that have surrounded you in the expat community, they all voted for Brexit?
Which I have moved right away from. I live in a small Spanish town that remains siestas and 25 degrees today, Nick, sorry. 25?
Well, Jane, we don't wish to know that.
I know, I'm so sorry, I do apologise.
But it's pleasant here, I mean, it's quite nice here, but the thing that we miss here, I imagine that you've got a lot of in Spain, is the sun. We ain't got no sun.
We have that beautiful winter vitamin D fuelled sun.
Right.
And it's a delight. But
well, I refer you to the comment I made some moments ago that we don't wish to hear that.
But seriously, I cannot believe, as I say, just from those that I know in the forum, they truly believe this doesn't apply to us, surely.
Right. Well, maybe it's an age. It is an age thing, because if you take out the votes of the pensioners, if you take out the pensioner votes in both Brexit and the last election, the result would have flipped. We would have had Jeremy Corbyn as the Prime Minister. If you take out the pensioners' votes, and we would not have left the European Union. That's actually true.
And I know, because I have a family in Wales that I travelled to the last time I dared to get on a plane, which was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I saw the changes in Wales, in Carmarthenshire, how the town had changed through EU money. It was amazing.
Yeah, and if they're waiting for the government to replace that money that used to come from the European Union, I think they're in for a long wait.
What I would like to say is there is a small part of me, again I'm being kind, that sat in a house for 4 years which I wanted to move out of and finally did. And there were apartments around me that were used once a week, once a year, with homeless people on the street.
Right. What, in Spain or?
In Spain.
Right, okay, right.
In the area with the expats, homeless, and apartments opened up for 1 week out of the whole year.
I'm a bit lost, actually. I don't really know what it is you're telling me.
Sorry, I haven't explained that well.
No, maybe I just haven't heard very well.
Okay, people would come over for 1 week out of the year to their second home.
Right.
And the other 51 weeks of the year would be empty.
Yes, okay, second homes, yeah, I get it.
And people literally on the streets, food banks, homeless.
Okay. I completely understand where you're coming from.
But, hey, we're British.
Right. Okay,
and that
Jane.
was their attitude.
Right, all right, I get it. Thanks a lot, Jane. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Malcolm texts, hey, it looks like you're going to beat your previous record of 10 shows in a row with 11 this year. You're more record-breaking than Bodger. And boy, is he breaking records. I think 1 year, I do remember that 1 year I did, is it possible I did 17 shows in a row? That's the number that comes to me. That doesn't really seem plausible, does it? But I think I've done more than 11 in a row. But yeah, I'm going to be on tomorrow night and on Monday, and then I'll collapse in a heap on the ground. Daryl texts, here is a Brexit bonus. Shopkeepers can now put the prices of imperial measurements in a larger font size than the metric ones. Taste the freedom. 0345 6060 973. Regent's Park. Hello, Vance.
Hi, Nick. Thanks as ever for keeping us sane.
Thanks, Vance.
Nick, I'm going to make a comment about Johnson's and Javid's claim that they've met their booster target by New Year. In the 1980s, I was living in another country, and I set up an HIV charity with some of my friends, aiming to really educate the population about the threat of HIV, and we managed to do that. We succeeded, partly because we also addressed the homeless.
Right.
Right. Now, do you remember when Johnson won the November 2019 election, he boasted that he would fix the problem of homelessness for good?
Right.
Do you remember?
Another one of his fantastical promises.
Absolutely. One of his earliest promises. In fact, homelessness, we now know, is worse than it was before he became PM.
I walked past, I don't know, at least 10 homeless people in the brief jaunt between my car and here, and it took less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. Now, I've been checking on homeless people around Tottenham Court Road, Euston Road and Regent's Park, and most of them have not even had one jab. They are all under the booster radar.
Now, there are tens of thousands of homeless people living on our streets again, Nick.
Yeah, well, you can. The figures look great if you just ignore all of the people that haven't actually had a vaccine. You can say we're 100% of the people in this country have had a vaccine if you ignore all the ones that haven't.
Absolutely. And, it is just a lie because they won't, Johnson won't tell the truth and they can't see what's happening, on the streets of our towns.
Well, there's a thing called Our World in Data, which has all sorts of information on it over the whole wide world. And this is a list of countries that have a better record, a better rate of vaccination than we do. I mean, it's the refrain of the government is that we have the best vaccine rollout in the world, and that's absolutely, totally, and completely untrue.
And that's ridiculous. Can I make two or three further comments?
No, I'm afraid you can't because I'm past a break already. It's just past 11:30. But better luck next time. I'm afraid I can't, Vance. I'm sorry. But I'll come back with this list of countries that are doing better than us, which may surprise you. Mail on Sunday, tomorrow. It's a big splash on a poll that they've had. An exclusive Mail on Sunday poll gives Labour a 16-point lead in red wall constituencies. Boris Johnson could lose more than 100 seats. Wow. Do you trust Boris Johnson to level up, was one of the questions. Yes, said 25%. No, said 67%. That's a big no. No, they said. Do you trust him to level up? Do you trust him to help the poorest? Well, even less people expect that. 68% said no. Do you trust him to help the poorest? It makes you wonder why the people in the Red Wall voted for him in the first place. I mean, were you really that unsure about who he was? Do you trust Boris? Do you trust Boris to tell the truth?
No.
Yes, said 22%. And I would like to contact those 22% because I've got a bridge to sell them. No, said 74%. Wow. Can there be any other person in the public eye that would poll at 74% on no to the question, do you trust them to tell the truth? Will Boris still be PM by this time next year? No, says 58%. Less than half that said yes. And then it gets personal. Are your household finances in a better or worse state since the Conservatives came to power? Worse, said 40%. Better, said 12%. Will they get better or worse over the next 12 months? Better, 16%. Worse, 41%. Has he obeyed the rules? No, says 72%. Should he resign if he has broken the law over COVID restrictions? Yes, says 65%. And then they asked about royal ratings. Who do you think's at the very, very bottom? That's right. The Queen, these are the ratings in order. The Queen, Wills, out of Wills and What's It, then Kate, and then Anne, then Charles, then Camilla. Harry is on 0, which means that people, just as many people dislike him as like him, which might surprise the press, actually, because they, I think, assume that we all hate him with a passion. Hazard is on, essentially people are saying they just don't know. Meghan is on -17 and Andrew -50. Very much disliked. 0345 6060 973. Gwent, Patrick.
Hi, on Nick.
Patrick.
Hey, Nick.
How you going?
All right, I was just turning off the loudspeaker.
Okay.
Hey, right. No, I agree with you. Them that House of Lords, right? It's just a complete waste of money. They get him like 300 quid a day or whatever it is, and apparently they got a free bar. And
I don't know whether it's free, but it's adjacent to free. It's subsidised considerably. Yeah, free bar, free restaurants, and all the rest of it.
And you know, right? I hope because it's bound to be a few of them listening to this program, right? To see what people are saying about them, right? If they are, right, hear this.
I doubt it.
There's pensioners in this country, right? And get it on a pittance, and they get like 300 quid a day or whatever it is. Turn up, half of them. If you have a look on the TV when you're watching them, half of them are asleep.
Well, they don't. When they turn up, they don't actually show up and go and speak or even listen to other people who are speaking on any given subject. So where are they? I think that they show up, go to a restaurant or a bar and spend the day there, or they just poke their head around the door, say, "It's me, I'm here," and then they leave.
It's crazy. Honest to God, right? The British people, if they should have a referendum tomorrow, right, and vote them all out. And you know, right, while we're on the subject,
I'm not sure that they would, because if nothing else in this country, we love doffing our caps to those what talk posh. It's been ingrained in us. We are trained to do it.
Yeah. Well, look, honest to God, right, Nick. Anyway, before you cut me off, can I just say to you, right, I want to wish you a happy New Year.
Well, thanks.
I had my son listening to you as well, all the weekends, because he stays with me on the weekends, right?
Oh, yes.
And so we listened to the A to Z. He listened to it the first time. And I was wondering, right, because you'll listen to this back tomorrow now when he comes, do me a favour. Do the contract testing thing.
The contract.
Would you do one of them?
If only I had it to hand.
Contact testing, tracing. Forgive me. Contact tracing.
Thanks a lot, Patrick. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Just so as you know, so as you are not in a state of ignorance on this issue, peers can claim a rate of £323 for each sitting day. Now, that's a rate of £84,000 a year. Now, I know that they don't sit every day of the year, but that's if they did that for a job like all of the rest of us do, that's about £84,000 a year. But it's tax-free.
What?
Yes. They don't pay any tax on that. So it's actually a rate of, I don't know, it's over 100 grand. Way over 100 grand a year. That's the rate that they're on. Over £100,000 a year. For what? Exactly. I thought that the reason that we were persuaded to leave the European Union was twofold. I mean, you can forget all of that. Oh, we're going to get our own rules and regulations and we're going to, go out in the world and strike trade deals and all that nonsense. We had trade deals with the whole of the world. We traded with the whole of the world. It's not a single country on earth that we did not trade with already within the European Union. And we had much more heft and weight behind us inside than out, as we are finding to our cost. All of those trade deals that the government is parading before us and bellowing at us through a megaphone about how great they are just a copy of what we... At best, they're a copy of what we had in the European Union. And at worst, they're... look at what is going on with us in America at the moment. Steel. Our entire steel industry is looking at its imminent demise, just like the fishing industry and the agriculture industry and all these other things that we're supposed to benefit from leaving the European Union. And have actually, all of that Project Fear turned out to be Project Fact. Who could have predicted that? But I thought that one of the major reasons was that we didn't want to be ruled by unelected bureaucrats. Now, of course, the bureaucrats in the European Union are either directly elected by the people or they are put in their position by the people that we elect. Who elects peers? Who? I mean, some of them are only there because they are employees of a religion. We have the biggest collection of unelected bureaucrats outside of China. I mean, it's embarrassing. But you can't tell people because they just won't hear it. Hamburg, Ulf.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Well, my suggestion for the Brexit benefit, you Brits might actually get rid of your annoying exceptionalism. It will take a bit of suffering, but I think there's a lot of that coming for you.
I think it's too ingrained, Ulf. We will never admit that we are not the best people in the whole wide world ever.
Well, let's wait and see. Let's wait what happens if Boris Johnson triggers a trade war to stay Prime Minister. That would end very badly for you, and a lot of people would suffer. I mean, they would hate the EU for a while, but at the end of the day, they would realize that the UK is not so strong as they were led to believe, and that might have a sobering effect.
I don't think it will. Like I say, people will dig their heels in ever harder to maintain the belief that we are the best people, the best country. I mean, okay, here's an indication of where we are. This guy.
I just reckon we've got the very best people in this country, much better than the French have, much better than the Belgians have, much better than the Americans have. That doesn't surprise me at all, because we're a much better country than every single one of them.
He used to be our education secretary. I mean, what more do you need to know, Ulf?
I noticed that he didn't mention Germany. I mean, maybe just by accident.
Yeah, well, if he'd had any more oxygen in his lungs, he would have done that.
Well, some of that oxygen might have entered his brain, and, well, I don't know.
All right.
So, yeah, it's my hope. If not, you are in for a really rough time, and that will last a long time. You learn your lesson, or you keep repeating your mistakes.
I expect we'll keep repeating our mistakes and blaming Germany. Thanks a lot, Ulf. 0345 6060 973. I mean, it couldn't be our fault. Could it? Think about it, Bodge. Craig emails, does 2022 really feel like it's dragging to you? Also, have you noticed that Bodger can brush his hair when he wants to? He manages to brush it when he meets the Queen, or goes to the UN, or attends Remembrance Sunday. I didn't think he did smarten himself up for Remembrance Sunday. I think he maintained his act for that, didn't he? He may brush it when he goes to meet the Queen, yeah. He's the kind of fellow that would look in the mirror by his front door and mess up his hair before he leaves. It's an act. It's to disarm is what it's for. And he learnt it, I am absolutely sure, at a very, very young age, that it makes people want to mother him. So he can get away with absolutely anything. It's the sort of Just William routine. Gosh, who, me? That routine. And because it worked as a small child, he just continued to do it, as he's maintained the same haircut. There's pictures of him in Eton. They wheel them out in the press every now and again. He appears to be the exact same person. He presents himself in the precise same way as he used to when he was wearing shorts in school. It's because the act has always worked. He presents himself as somebody who can't tie his own shoelaces. He can't do his own tie. Oh, please help me. And people do. They want to mother him. They want to spit in their hands and smooth down his hair. Awful. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Norman texts, how quickly can you get the book finished? I'm dying to see if I made it in this year. Yes, the A to Z is over now. It's completed. We've done that. And I am going to put out the book. Hopefully it'll be this week. It's going to be the whole A to Z list, which by far is the biggest list we've ever compiled. I've been doing that list of the A to Z of the year for quite a few years now, and no year has even come close to this one. The list is massive. But I've also, as the year has been going on, I've been writing a sort of a commentary month by month about the bizarre and weird things that have been happening to us, and that will be in that as well. So I'm going to put it out for the absolute cheapest price point that the publisher will allow. It'll be about a third of the price of a cup of coffee, something like that. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll point you in the right direction. It's Jan says, I started working in retail 3 months ago. Some days I work 5 hours standing at a till without a break. I get abuse from customers. My cat gets better treatment with toilet breaks and food on demand for a few meows. Cats have got it sewn up, haven't they? I mean, really, what a life. They know, by the way, that we will do anything they like as long as they meow in the right way. Cats don't meow to each other. I only learned that a few years ago. They only meow at us. They don't meow to each other. I mean, they might hiss and, all of that. But they meow at us. And they figured out that a certain type of meow will get us to do anything they want. Because sometimes you think, oh, I just can't be bothered to get up and meow. And it wants food, or it wants let out, or let in, or something like that. And so it'll go through a little selection of meows, and it will see that we stupid bags of fat aren't moving quickly enough. So then it will deploy its emergency meow, which sounds like a baby. They've figured that out. And when they give us the meow that sounds like a baby, oh boy, we are leaping to our feet to let them in or out, or just to open the door so that it looks out and then decides it actually doesn't want to go out at all and then walks back inside again. Cats, eh? Roy says, deck chair Dominic went to hospital with a £4 tub of sweets and mince pies. I bet Bodger will think that will sort out the NHS staffing problems. Yeah, it's in lieu of a pay rise.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Let's have Luton. Tony.
Good evening, Nick.
Tony.
I've got a slight slant on your Brexiteers expats.
Okay.
My sister-in-law, my ex-sister-in-law, used to go out for lunch with her every 2 or 3 times a year. We go for lunch.
Yes.
And about 6 years ago, she told me her and her partner have decided when they retire, they're going to live in Portugal.
Ah.
How nice is that? It's lovely, isn't it, Nick?
Well, it'd be very nice, I would think.
6 months later, they voted for Brexit. And I thought, but that wasn't the best of it. They also decided they're going to learn Spanish.
But what was their reason that they voted for Brexit?
I don't know. I sent a text to everyone the night before Brexit. I put, use your brain, vote Remain. And I got a text back from her saying, in your dreams.
Right.
Now, the night before Brexit, you were getting 127 to the pound for the euro. I've monitored that ever since. It never got past about 115.
I thought it was up at, or maybe the night before, but I think that it had been collapsing for a while there, just on the very idea that that's the way it was going to go, because it used to be 140, didn't it?
Yeah, well, the night before it was on 127. Now it's on about 112, 115.
Yeah, but still, it's only money though.
But on a ballpark figure, that they got across with 100 grand.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day they'd lost 12,000 euros.
Yeah.
I mean,
but they knew what they were voting for.
It's Turkey's vote for Christmas, Nick. Now, the same woman, her daughters, both voted for Boris or Bodger 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then 18 months ago, they're outside banging the drum for the NHS, and they voted for Conservative. I'm thinking, I can't believe the stupidity of people, Nick.
Well, it is surprising when people think that the party to fix the problems that have been caused by the last 11 years of the Conservative Party is, of course, the Conservative Party. I really find it difficult to get my head around that.
But can you believe that 2 people going to live in the European Union voted to come out of it?
Yes. How old are they?
They're approaching retirement now. They're about 60.
Right. And like I said before, if you take out everybody over 60, I think 60 is the cut-off point, then that voted in the last election in Brexit, if you discount what people call the economically inactive, those who have retired, then we would not have left the European Union and we'd have had Jeremy Corbyn as the Prime Minister.
Oh, dream time, Nick, dream time. I'm 65, I know what I'd have done, or what I did do.
65 years old. All right, thanks a lot, Tony. 0345 6060 973. Desiree tweets, he's doing his best. I did my best at PE at school. I was still bad at it. I couldn't run around the toilet without needing a break, says Desiree. Doreen says, you're being too harsh on our very brave PM. Yes, he has made mistakes, but he is beginning to show contrition. I have to assume that this is sarcastic. I'll read on and we'll find out. He also has a young family to care for. Let's stop the Boris bashing and focus on getting out of this mess. No, she's not being sarcastic.
What?
Being serious. Doreen. Yeah, there's something about that name that makes me think that she fits a certain demographic. Doreen. George says the coronavirus is going to be our next-door neighbour for years to come, borrowing our milk and sugar when it's run out and being a general nuisance. Well, we got good news about that, really. I guess I'll give you that in the second hour. I did say that I was going to show, or tell you rather, which countries are doing particularly well with the vaccine, because although this government is want to tell you that we are the best in the world at absolutely everything. And Sajid Javid was guilty of that today. Did you read that thing in the Mail? Oh, my God, I'll get to that as well. Painful. Here are a brief list of some of the countries that are doing much better than us as far as the vaccine is concerned. United Arab Emirates. This is percentage of people per head of population, I think. Share of people full of... Yeah, so it's per head. Some of these countries are smaller. I know that you will raise a finger of complaint in the air. United Arab Emirates, Cuba, Portugal, Chile, Singapore, China. China. Big one. Singapore, China, Canada, Italy, Japan, France, Brazil, Vietnam, and then us. Level with Germany. So, you know... When they say that we're the best in the world and that we are world-beating, which seems to be the refrain for absolutely everything that they try to sell us, just look it up. It's entirely possible that they may be being mendacious. Liar! Exactly. Shahaf texts. Come on, Nick. Calling Johnson Boris is not a first name basis, it's a second name basis. When people start calling him Alex... we'll be in real trouble. I guess so, yeah. It's his middle name, one of. Tony says, Rishi Sunak gives us more money and then takes it back by increasing national insurance by 1.25%. Yes, that's right. And by that method, the poor nurses who've been, many of whom will have been working huge shifts over the Christmas period, they will actually be losing money. It's the government's way of showing its appreciation.
Thank you.
Dean says, I sent to Steve Allen a text this morning saying that you said you'd run out of milk for your coffee last night and that if it was him, he would have had someone run to the shop while someone else gave him a 3-course meal and a foot massage. Steve said if you go up to the 5th floor, there's loads of milk up there. And then he joked about my car.
What?
Tony texts, how dare you ask the question, what's to like about fishy Sunak? I really like his expensive flip-flops, says Tony. Flip-flops? What's a grown-up doing wearing flip-flops for crying out loud? He's not Australian. D emails, I thought you'd be interested to hear it's 26 degrees here in sunny Auckland. No, D, we do not wish to know that. And James says, I once found myself sitting opposite Brian Sewell on the Underground. He was reading, so sadly I didn't get to ask him about the buttocks. Reading on the Underground. Books. You remember books, don't you?
No.
Oh, there used to be a thing. Yeah, people used to read books, if you can believe that. Lancashire. Oh, Annie.
Oh, Nick.
Hello, Annie.
Hi. I was just going to say, we've all got it wrong, about this levelling up.
Huh?
I don't think, they mean levelling up from the bottom. I think they've always meant levelling up from the fairly wealthy to the very, very wealthy.
Oh.
So they're leveling, just leveling up and up and up and up.
It's
and
like
the sky's the limit.
It's like trickle-down economics.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no trickling down.
It's trickling up.
Only trickling up.
It's up and up and up. And so, I think we've all got it wrong. And we'll be sadly disappointed.
I think it's just another one of their excellent gaslighting schemes. They're telling us one thing while doing the complete opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
It creates a certain dissonance. It creates a noise in your head. And you try to square it by thinking, well, they're telling me that they're actually, making the poor better off, so they must be doing it, but my eyes are telling me that the opposite is happening. And so how can I square this circle? I'm just going to go with what they're telling me until the evidence becomes so overwhelming that I'm going to have to admit that I've been duped.
Well, I think people are going to have to wake up very shortly to the fact that we're not going to be able to live with this virus as it is at the moment, not in England, because we've got 1 in 25 people with COVID at the moment, but only in Wales and Scotland they've only got 1 in 40. And Sajid Javid was just saying, we'll just have to live with it. But there was a doctor on the radio a couple of days ago who said they've got 50% of nurses off in their ward. I mean, that can't go on. They'll just, if you have to go in for a car accident or any, heart attack or anything else, there'll just be no staff there to treat you.
But I wonder if this is, because the Omicron is so easily caught, that I wonder if this sort of wall of infections is something that once you get past and people get immunity for it and so on, that there is actually light on the other side of this wall, and it might not take too long to get there. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just putting it forward as a possibility.
It is a possibility, yes, but I think in the meantime, if it doesn't happen quick enough or if it doesn't kind of slow down, I think they do need to do something to slow it down. I'm not suggesting a lockdown or anything, but just some more restrictions, because otherwise
I don't know.
Things will be overwhelmed. Well, honestly, care agencies are not functioning at the moment. Our care agency is not fulfilling all its calls.
Well,
it just cannot do it.
Yes, but there's another reason for that, on top of the COVID thing, and that's Brexit. We yelled at all these people to get out of our country, and they did. How unpatriotic of them.
It was disgusting, yeah, definitely. But, I mean, that aside, our care agency has been short-staffed, and all of them are. But that's now, with the Omicron thing, there's no slack to be taken up because they are so short-staffed.
I understand that, but I wonder if, like I said, this is just like a brief period that once we're through the other side, it will get much, much better. Because the news from South Africa is quite good. Have you read this?
Yes, I have, although I don't think it's entirely comparable. They're still waiting to see what's happening now. It's just starting to filter through to the older population now, and whether the vaccines will hold up in older people who obviously they don't... the vaccines don't work as well on older people. I mean, unfortunately, COVID's just got into my 98-year-old mother-in-law's home, so I'm sort of holding my bated breath. I mean, they have hardly any staff either. And I rang up today, and somebody answered the phone, a member of staff who was coughing away down the phone. And I was thinking, I don't think you should be at work. But they're obviously so short-staffed that they're having to have staff in who are actually... coughing and spluttering.
I can't stand people coughing around me now. I mean, over the last 2 years, if somebody starts coughing and sneezing or anything like that, I know that this is unkind, but I just want to kill them.
Carry a gun, Nick.
Yeah, I'll do that. That is excellent advice. You'll always be able to find me, Annie, just to follow the trail of blood that I leave behind me.
Yes.
Let me. Thanks for that. I'm going to do this South African thing because this was in the mail today. South Africa has passed the peak of its Omicron COVID wave with no significant uptick in deaths and will ease some virus restrictions. Say it softly, it might soon be over. Omicron, we might not all be about to die. In South Africa, where this particularly invisible menace came from, 10,000 cases are now being reported per day on a 7-day average. That's down from a peak of 24,000 2 weeks ago. So 24,000 2 weeks ago per day, 10,000 today. Deaths per day have also fallen to around 50. It used to be 577 a day during January's second wave. And that's despite cases being higher in number this time around. So things have definitely changed. And the government there has announced that an overnight curfew is going to be lifted, and for those who don't have symptoms, they've scrapped isolation and contact tracing, which is a relief because we haven't even figured out how to say it. Have we, Bodge?
Contact tasting, testing, tracing. Forgive me. Contact tracing.
Exactly. So they're opening alcohol shops past 11 o'clock.
Booze.
And capacity limits for indoor gatherings are going to be increased to 1,000 people. I mean, they've still got masks and distancing for the time being, but, generally, it's positive. Infections dropped by about 30% last week. And remember that South Africa is, a couple of weeks ahead of us with this thing? 30% infections, an infection drop of 30% compared to the week before. And hospital admissions have also declined. And during the spike, they had only a marginal increase in COVID-19 deaths. This is the spike of Omicron. Only a marginal increase in deaths. Can we start to get excited now?
No.
Can we think about starting to get excited?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we are. Just possible that this nightmare may be coming to a close. Now, Omicron, far more infectious than Delta, the previous most infectious strain, and it has the ability, apparently, to dodge some protection offered by vaccines, as well, as you've probably heard, reinfecting those who have recovered from a past infection. But data suggests that infections are milder than Delta, and we heard that right at the beginning of this, a couple of weeks ago, when this variant first raised its head. And the milder symptoms are particularly being shown among those who have been vaccinated or have recovered from being infected before. And the symptoms are being described as being similar to colds. Can we live with that? Yes, I think so. The variant is currently present in more than 100 countries, according to the World Health Organization, and there's only 195 countries on Earth, so it's pretty much everywhere. So this may be the variant that goes around the world, supersedes all other variants, and which we will all get and recover from, and that might be the end of it. On the other hand, it might be the lull before the storm, and a much worse one might be just around the corner, or it might get hit by an asteroid the size of Wales, and all life on Earth is wiped out. So don't put off today what you could have done yesterday. No, wait. I got that around the wrong way. But whatever happens next, well, it will happen. We just don't know. But it's relatively exciting, yes? Maybe. Wouldn't that be marvellous? 0345 6060 973. Martin texts, I'm listening on catch-up, the podcasts of the A to Z, and I'm wondering, with all the unseasonably spooky things, are you on the Starship Enterprise studio? No, that's downstairs. I'm in the cupboard upstairs. Perhaps you could set up your not-so-smartphone to see if it can record any paranormal activities. I can't believe that you've been doing these A to Zs for over 10 years. Have I? You kidding? 10 years? Really? Says Martin. Oh, appreciate it, Martin. Yeah, there were some bizarre things that happened in this studio when I was doing the A to Z over Christmas. I mean, really weird. We had people breathing in microphones that weren't on, and we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I mean, it was as clear as day. People knocking microphones and getting the sense that that somebody had come in the room, and it was just really bizarre. I've never actually experienced anything like it before. If I was the type of person who believed in ghosts, then I'd be convinced. But I don't think I am. Not yet, anyway. Let's have Seven Oaks. Hello, Mark.
Hi, yes, Omicron is the immunisation that the anti-vaxxers will find hard to refuse. But anyway, you mentioned that you were surprised that some of the Red Wall Brexiteers were suddenly changing their views about Johnson. Well, I think you also mentioned the answer to that conundrum, because this is a way of them getting rid of Brexit without saying they're getting rid of Brexit without losing face. I think. Well, I think that the Brexit policy of Keir Starmer is not credible to the Brexiteers, because what they think will happen is that Labour will not get a majority of seats, which means they won't be bound by their policy. And then, because there won't be the agreement over the parties they'll have to coalesce with, they'll put it to the people, and that will be the end of Brexit.
Yes.
So it's they don't have to say they're getting rid of Brexit. All they have to do is say they're getting rid of Johnson, and this is a non-Brexit reason, nothing to do with Brexit, to a good non-Brexit reason to get rid of it. The other point is that although
I don't think people are. Hang on a minute. Whoa! I don't really think that people are thinking like that. I think it's a visceral reaction to what has been shown to be the character of the man. I mean, previous it was funny because he was, he was that funny bloke off the telly with the hair and the baggy suits and all of that. But now it's been shown that is actually definitely and totally an act. And the character of the man has been revealed. I think it's more of an instinctual reaction to that. And also, getting the hump about the rules applying to us and not to them. I mean, it seems like a pretty thin reason, but I think that's it, rather than, any sort of complicated workings around the Brexit issue. Because whoever replaces Boris Johnson is going to be the same, if not worse.
Sure, but I mean, I'm talking about getting rid of the Conservatives. But the interesting thing is that the Conservatives haven't been plugging this vote for Labour's vote to get rid of Brexit line. And
well, they don't need to, yes.
Well, it's true, but remember in 2005 when they said that vote for Blair and get Brown, they found that actually improved the support for the Labour Party.
Well, they don't want to. I mean, to the point that they've instructed civil servants not to ever mention the word Brexit again. that went around over the Christmas period. They're banned from even mentioning the word Brexit. Now, something is going badly when you're not allowed to talk about it. So they're not going to say they're not deliberately going to bring up the subject at all, because it's been an undeniable failure up to this point. There are no successes, zero, not at all. Not one single thing that you could pinpoint as being a Brexit bonus. There aren't any. So the government is not going to bring it up of its own volition. They're going to, talk about anything else.
Yes, which means that it's good for Labour. Keir Starmer I think he's been playing a very good game.
Oh,
he's
really?
gradually increased the number of Remainers in his cabinet, the Remain units of his cabinet, as Brexit has gone down the tubes.
I don't think that he has any intention of taking us back into the European Union. I don't think that any politician even wants to touch it with a barge pole, for this reason. The older members of the population want to leave the European Union, and they will not be convinced otherwise, regardless of what evidence comes their way. So they have made their decision, and they're going to dig their heels in ever harder. They also are the demographic that votes the most. And so until a long time goes by, and the older among us fall off life's conveyor belt and are replaced by those that didn't want to leave in the first place, then that's the country's not going to change direction, not for a long time, because the people that vote the most want to leave the EU the most, and they won't be convinced otherwise. They just won't.
Well, the polls are already showing the other direction.
No, they aren't. I mean, they're showing that
the average of the last 6 polls of rejoin or stay out have been around 51-49.
Right, but my question is...
in favour of rejoin.
Yeah, but my question is, of those people, how many will actually be bothered to go and vote? And we're in the exact same position we were before the referendum, and I predicted it because of this precise fact, that the people who wanted to leave the EU, the older among us, would go through a snowstorm to the voting booth to vote because they were single-issue obsessives. Those that were fine with the way things were going in the European Union had other things on their minds and weren't that bothered. They were younger people, so they were less likely to vote anyway. So poll after poll, and you are right, has shown that the majority of the people in this country wanted to remain in the EU, but it's how many of those would actually be bothered to go and vote in an election that's the important part. Rachel emails, I think the reason that many people have blown their last fuse over the Downing Street party is because COVID has affected each and every single one of us. People have lost jobs, homes, friends and family members. Children have lost their education. People have died alone and funeral attendance was severely restricted. So the Downing Street party is, in my view at least, the most scandalous political event in our lifetimes and absolutely unforgivable. Boris must go, says Rachel. No, I won't be convinced. It just seems so thin. That people are expressing surprise surprises me. I mean, how can you be surprised that people as entitled as those that fill the cabinet weren't remotely interested in following the rules that they insisted that we follow under pain of being fined or imprisoned? I mean, you can't possibly be surprised, surely. Steve emails, is it 2023 yet? Are we there yet? Limoges. Hello, James.
Oh, hi, Nick. Yeah, can I just go back to the House of Lords business?
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm sure you'll probably agree that Podger seems to be sort of filling it with his mates, so that if he gets any dodgy legislation that needs to be pushed through, he's got a majority in there.
Well, that's the idea. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, and could also mention
in much the same way that he appoints his mates to oversee him. I mean, why doesn't he just get his dad to mark his homework, for crying out loud?
Yeah, well, that's Dodger for you. No, but just on one other point that keeps cropping up about these pensioners abroad, and you know I'm abroad. I'm a pensioner, and I've got 3 grown-up kids, and we all voted to remain.
Did you?
We had no qualms about, and I've never voted Tory in my life. So
now you do understand though.
I'm
but,
an oldie.
All right, but you know, when people say everybody I know voted a certain way, it's because perhaps you pick your friends based on their similar views to your own. So it would be natural that somebody would call in and say, well, everybody that I know voted to leave. Well, that's because you pick your friends based on, the way that they think.
I didn't pick my kids, though. They just arrived.
Right.
They have minds of their own. And I mean, we did discuss it in actual fact. And we said, well, what's the point of leaving? Because everything was working, freedom of movement, jobs. We didn't see any downside to it whatsoever.
Everything was ticking along just fine until people were persuaded out of the blue that things weren't going well because of, and then they gave us a litany of complaints. No, the bus came later. If you'd asked people a few years before the mention of Brexit had first been made, what were the problems facing this country, nobody would have said we are being held back by our European overlords. It wouldn't have occurred to them.
I think the biggest regret is that nobody stood up very powerfully to speak to Remain. It was all you seemed to be getting over the airwaves was why it would be far more beneficial to leave.
Well, I'll say it again, we have been and continue to be led by those who shout the loudest.
Yeah, and a complicit media.
Exactly. Yes.
With, apart from yourself.
Well, little old me don't make no, never mind. No, the media is the people that you're talking about are the offshore, foreign owned and dwelling billionaires who are
making money out of the fact that we're out now and their accounts are safe from taxation.
That's partly what it was all about, actually. It was about...
well, that's why there was such a rush to get out, and that's why they never read anything to do with the agreement, because they were in such a rush to get out before the 31st of December.
They just wanted to...
protect their assets.
Well, yeah, in a nutshell, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, James. 0345 6060 973. They were covering their assets. This text says, I'm a headmaster, and before we have even returned to school, 12 of my teachers have called me to say that they have COVID and will not be present for the first 10 days of school to teach their GCSE and A-level students. I'm stuck in the middle with teachers falling like flies and parents wanting answers and no guidance from the government. What on earth am I meant to do? They are acting like it's business as usual, but it's a lie. It's a horror show on the ground. Well, what should they do, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He'll get back to you. Yeah, I'm not well, I know that we are all epidemiologists now. We're all expert virologists now. But it does occur to me that this wave, and this is a scenario that people have been talking about for a while, that, everybody will get it. This herd immunity idea, everybody will get it, and then we'll be protected from it in the future, and then we can sort of step through this and go beyond. Wouldn't it be great if the thing that everybody got was so mild that it didn't really affect you negatively that much? And if this is it, if everybody gets this, and we can then step through this nightmare into the light, then that's a pretty positive thought for the new year, don't you think? Let's hold on to that. I don't think I've got enough time to take another call before the news, so I'll take it just after. Mo texts, we left the EU on January the 31st, 2020. What are you banging on about? Get on with it, says Mo. Mo, the consequences of Brexit will be with us forever. I mean, if you think that after January the 31st of the year before, that was it, and we need think about it no more, then you're deluded, Mo. You are precisely the demographic that the people who persuaded us to leave were looking for. Exactly. Gary texts, yet again the honour system has failed to award Cheryl from Pan's People, despite all she did. That's a joke. It's a joke in bad taste.
Disgusting.
Which I will spare you from. Mickey emails, I'm now addicted to Peppa Pig, and it's all Bodger's fault.
Peppa Pig World. Peppa Pig World it has
Peppa Pig is the right answer. I'm now addicted to Peppa Pig, and it's all Bodger's fault, says Mikey. Mikey, rather. My 2022 just won't be the same. As what? Kevin emails, are they putting these up to count towards the 40 new hospitals promised in the election? Or the Nightingale buildings? Yeah, probably yes. I would imagine yes. And all those vaccine centres, in tents that they've been going up in supermarket car parks and here, there and everywhere, baby. They probably count too. Rob says, a benefit of Brexit... by the way, how can they get away with that? I mean, talk about being caught out in a barefaced lie. And when they're quizzed about it on the TV, they just repeat the lie, as though they don't hear it. If they just keep saying the same thing over and over again, then one of two things will happen. Either they'll run out of time on the TV and the presenter will have to go to a break, or they've got somebody else that they want to interview. So they know if they just keep repeating the same thing over and over again, that eventually they can just get up and walk out. So all they have to do is just to maintain the lie for a couple of minutes, and they know they'll be off the hook. And the other thing, of course, is if they keep telling us the same thing over and over again, then just enough people will believe it. Even though they know it's not true, it will be in you, and it will become a part of your mindset. It's like when a newspaper prints a lie on its front page, and it's preposterous. But it sticks with you. Freddie Starr ate my hamster. Now, it's almost certainly untrue that Freddie Starr ate any hamster, but that stuck with you, right? What do you know about Freddie Starr? Ate my hamster. 0345. See, and no amount of retractions later are going to make any difference at all. It's part of your mindset. It's in there, ingrained. How many new hospitals are there? 40. Of course there are, even though there aren't. You know there aren't. They've said there aren't. but they just keep saying there's 40. Rob texts, a benefit of Brexit is you can find out if someone is stubborn and stupid very quickly. Well, that's a controversial thing to say, Rob. Phil says, Happy New Year, Nick. Talking about the House of Lords, what's an ex-cricketer Ian Botham doing in there? He says, I once threw 180 in darts. Can I join? Join? You could be the next Minister for Education with adding up skills like that, Phil. You could take over from Zaphod.
And 1, 2,
3,
11.
Oh, close. Kingston. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Nick. Happy
Laura,
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Please be gentle with me.
Of course.
I love your show and I think you're fantastic. And I've wanted to call you for years.
Appreciate it.
But I was always, but I was always worried I'd be one of those, does anybody know what that call was about, callers? And I wish I could be one of your cool callers like Annie and Sophie and lovely Jan.
Well, let's see how we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's failing already. So,
it's not failing. You're doing very well.
Oh, I've had 2. So anyway, I've had a mulled wine. I'm a bit squiffy as I'm not a drinker.
Booze.
And it's my birthday. It's my birthday.
It's your birthday.
It is.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm really bringing the tone down, aren't I?
You're doing
anyway, I thought I'd
just
take the
fine.
plunge.
Believe in yourself, Laura.
I know that's going to have to be my New Year's resolution to fail at, but anyway. I was advised to talk about Johnson. Most I said Johnson.
Yes.
And I said, I think he's a banana. And all I see when I watch him is he looks like Jimmy Savile. Has anybody ever noticed that?
Oh, no.
I know.
He's a banana.
Well, he's a banana, but
I've
that's
never
the nice
heard that
side.
before. What does that mean?
No, I couldn't think of that. Was the first thing that came into my head. But actually, you slip on a banana. Anyway, it fits. I think.
Does it?
Same colour.
Okay,
well, maybe
then.
not. A squishy one.
His hair is the same colour as the
But back
banana.
to Jimmy Savile. Don't you think he looks like Jimmy Savile?
No, I don't. Not in any way,
he
shape,
does.
or form.
Take a look at him. He really does.
I most certainly
I'm an
will do
artist
nothing
and
of
I've
the
got a good eye
sort.
for these things.
I don't think so.
Anyway, so I get a bit tongue-tied about talking about politics. So unless you're going to switch me off now, would you mind if I moan about my New Year?
What happened during your New Year, Laura?
Oh, Nick, it was awful. I was going to just sit down with my kitty cats and just watch a nice film. And then the lovely students next door, they had about 150 attendees. Yeah.
What time did the music stop?
Well, it only stopped. Okay, I'll be quick. But so I went around about 3 times to reason with them. Usually, I can reason with them, and they're very charming, but they just lie basically. So I then decided to blast Nirvana, Sonic Youth, Billy Jimi Hendrix, and James Brown.
Right. Okay. Adding to the problem. Right.
Well, no. It kind of wasn't. At least mine had a bit of melody. I had to put the Nirvana on really just because I knew they'd hate it. But it was just because I was being tortured with drill music and it was eating into my brain. Drill, yeah. I'm sorry, I could do any music, but drill.
I feel your pain. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wouldn't be able to live with that either.
No, and then, but suddenly I kept being advised to call the police, but I won't do that. I just like to reason with people.
I think the police would be plenty busy on New Year's.
No, they turned up because there was an assault. I think one of their own had called. There was a big van and then 3 police cars, and it ended by 2:00. So suddenly, my New Year was looking a bit more upbeat.
2:00 in the morning. That's pretty early for a New Year's Eve party to close.
Yeah, well, they all.
How marvellous!
They did all go, but they trashed the place. The neighbours are livid, and I spent the whole day today picking up all the rubbish from their front garden and all the verges because I worry about the animals. So I did all that and I dumped it outside their front door, opened the outer door, and then they have an inner door, put it all there, and yeah, so hopefully the animals won't get trapped because they had all that nitrous oxide and
the kids with the gas
everywhere in the bushes. Yeah, oh my goodness.
You see those things. You see those things everywhere. Usually in car parks. That's what I'm very disappointed with the kids these days. Their idea of fun is typing on their phones, like not speaking to people on their phones. They enjoy typing, which is really bizarre. And when they're not typing, or actually when sometimes they are, they're huffing gas out of those little canisters.
No, but they had the little ones. They're probably about 50 of those I collected from the verges. But they had the big ones, the great big, like 20 of those great big, huge, heavy, like a bomb.
I've not seen those.
Oh, well...
Maybe it was a
If
bomb.
my camera was working, I'd said no. Well, I wish it had been. It would have ended even sooner. But, hey-ho. But anyway, at least on my birthday, I'll get to relax, hopefully, unless they come round and realise I put this rubbish outside their door.
Maybe, Laura, everybody needs good neighbours, and I'm sure it goes both ways. So...
Yeah, I am a good neighbour. I'm very nice, and I'm very nice to them. I was even going to get them a Christmas present to say thank you for keeping the noise down, but then they blew it.
Yeah. Okay,
No chockies.
better luck next year. Thanks, Laura. 0345 6060 973. Arthur texts, I have a new passport. It's not dark blue, it's black. Sob, he says. Sob. Those old passports that we used to have, they used to be too stiff, too rigid, like they were made out of wood. It was a revelation when the new ones came in and they were bendy, so you could actually put them in your back pocket and sit down without putting your spine out. And that's what people are excited about, the colour of the passport. Like that makes... And the people that are most excited about the colour of the passport are, of course, those that won't want to leave the country anyway. Philip texts, less pressure on housing through less unsustainable immigration and less environmental destruction of our coasts caused by overfishing from so many foreign fishing boats. Oh, he's listing benefits of Brexit. Oh, and last but not least, less pressure on housing, thus helping to preserve our green and pleasant land. Just some of the benefits of leaving the e-poo, as he puts it. Well, Philip, listen carefully. You're not going to like it. Ministers plan to relax immigration rules to make it easier for thousands of Indians to live and work in the UK as the government seeks closer ties with India. Indian citizens could move freely to live and work in the UK under new rules that have been mooted. Immigration curbs are a key point that could dominate the UK-India trade talks. It's a big one for India. They want freedom of movement. Ministers are plotting to ease immigration restrictions that could help thousands of Indian citizens live and work in the UK more easily this year. The move is said to be a key point that could dominate trade talks that are due to commence between the two countries in Delhi. Now, remember, we're so desperate for a trade deal with absolutely anybody that Liz Truss was crowing about one with Liechtenstein. Crowing about the one with Australia that's going to decimate the farming industry and improve our finances to the tune of £1 per household per year. That's the level we're at. That's the level of desperation that we're at the moment with trade deals. We're also apparently so keen to do a trade deal with India that you remember there was a little thing called the Indian variant, and we were closing our borders to all other countries, north, south, east and west, but not India, because we were trying to ingratiate ourselves with the government of India, who wouldn't look kindly on us pushing their flights back. So Bodger left the borders open to flights from India, while there was an actual variant called the Indian variant. That's while he was trying to get a trade deal. It hasn't happened yet, because the big thing with India is that that's what they want. They want freedom of movement. If people voted Brexit because they didn't want white Polish people living next to them, I am a Knickerbocker Glory with cream on top if they would be okay with thousands of people from India coming to move here. I don't think that's what they voted for. It's not what you voted for, Philip, is it? Thought not. And as for fishing, well, let's get the fishing community on the phone and see what they'd like to say about Brexit. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. That story, by the way, was in the Super Soraway Mail. It's online right now. If you want to go and check it out, Philip. And you can thank me late. No, wait, I've changed my mind. You can thank me now. Lara texts, Johnson lists returning crowns to pint glasses as a key Brexit success. How embarrassing. It is embarrassing. It's just desperate that they would even say that out loud. That's a Brexit success. That we take I bet you didn't even notice that it was there. For the longest while now, they put EU on. It's EU. They put on. It was E. What's this stamp? I mean, I must have drunk thousands of pints while we've been in the European Union, and they had the EU stamp on them. Was it EU? It's EE or something like that. I don't even know what it is, and neither do you, because who stares at the rim of their pint? I bet if you had asked people in the street, gone with a clipboard and offered them £5 to tell you what was printed on the lip of a pint glass, nobody would have been able to tell you. Because who looks at it? Who cares? That's what they're telling us is a great Brexit success. We've now got the crown back on a pint glass. But only, of course, when they throw all the old pint glasses away, which they won't. Why would they? I mean, pubs are having a hard enough time as it is. Ask that bloke who runs Weatherspoons. Graham texts, the problem for Keir Starmer is that he is not Murdoch's choice. When was the last time we had a PM that wasn't Murdoch's choice? It predates Tony Blair. Apparently Murdoch's current favourite is Liz Truss. God help us all, says Graham. If Murdoch rated Starmer, he'd get far more positive coverage and have more prominence in the national debate. Well, it is alarming, really, that offshore billionaires living in other countries are running this country by remote control. And if, by the way, you think... it's weird that we've been persuaded that the interests of offshore foreign billionaires coincide with our own. And if you think that, I got a bridge I'd like to sell you. Neil tweets, you mean the CE mark? That's right, the CE mark. The Certificate European on pint glasses, the EU equivalent of the old British kite mark. Yeah, who cares? Oh, my God. If that's what we're clinging on to, then we really are desperate. Tina says, I don't know much about Mr. Sunak, but the little I do know is that he can afford to decorate his home, put food on his table without donations of posh food hampers and pay for as many holidays as he can take as Prime Minister. Well, what difference does that make? Boris Johnson can afford all of the above. He just doesn't want to, that's all. By implication, Tina, are you saying that the best qualification to be the Prime Minister is to be rich? Because, again, I'm not sure that the interests of billionaires coincide with the interests of the little people, not leprechauns. Fina says, on my way back to London from Alicante 2 years ago, a gentleman from Kent who sat next to me said that he voted Brexit because his daughter could not get a council flat. I tried to explain that it is an issue of the government not building social housing. He got angry and then ignored me for the rest of the flight. Wow, that must have been like a dream come true, Fina. Shut him right up. Yeah, the problem with lack of housing in this country is because successive governments, since the war, really, since the Second World War, have not built housing in sufficient enough numbers. I mean, Germany, I think, has managed 250,000 a year, there or thereabouts. Some years have gone by and we've managed zero, as in none at all. And then we wonder why there isn't enough housing in this country. That's the reason why. And people still say, well, you know, if only these blooming people didn't come over here. Well, we're missing them now. Now they've gone, aren't we? There's a lack of staff to drive our lorries. There's a lack of staff to staff abattoirs. You know, did you enjoy your turkey at Christmas? You know, the reason why there wasn't a shortage of turkeys in the shops this Christmas is because Polish workers took up temporary visas to come here and help out the people that had been yelling at them to get out of our country for the past 5 years. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Paul tweets, if it's going to be curtains for Bodge, who's paying for them? Good one, Paul. Who's paying for them, Bodge? Exactly. I mean, it's not like he's not rich. He's got the money. He just doesn't want to spend it. That's all. Philip texts, what? Chalmers Starmer's only got a 5-point lead now. Last week it was 8 points. He's moving in the wrong direction. No, it's... this is a Red Wall poll. In the Red Wall constituencies, Labour's got a 16-point lead, which is, you know, kind of what you would have expected in normal times, but we're not living in normal times anymore. But now it's up to a 16-point lead. That's according to the Mail on Sunday. There's a more general poll, which gives more or less the same kind of result, but overall, Labour's leading in the polls, apparently no matter who the Tories replace as the captain of their ship. That boat's going down. Just recently, the Tories lost the ultra-safe North Shropshire seat and were exposed for allegedly holding a series of Christmas parties last year during the height of lockdown. Cheese and wine, anyone? And then there was the resignation of David Frost. You know, that chap who looks like a melting candle? The expert who negotiated a trade deal that he said wasn't working. He said it wasn't working pretty much the second that he signed it, and declared that it needed to be renegotiated, you know, as though he had nothing to do with it. And on top of that, there's been disquiet on Bodger's backbenches of late, those harumphing Dickensian caricatures, the ghouls of Christmas past that slump sullenly behind him, trying and now failing to whip themselves up into something that looks like support. But if they're thinking that their fortunes would be improved by getting Fishy Sunak or the Brains Truss to replace him, they've got another think coming. Because according to opinion polling, a change of leadership isn't going to cut it. They did a survey that showed that, unprompted, the Conservatives trail Labour by 7 points in the polls. With Johnson as leader, that increases to 12. Wow. That's an extra 5 points of unpopularity with Bodger at the helm. What do you think about that, Bodge? And that's not because the Labour Party have done anything to warrant that support. I'd say exactly the opposite. They've been practically invisible. I mean, can anyone remember a single thing that Keir Starmer has said all year long? I'll make it really easy for you. Just one thing that Keir Starmer has said all last year. Anything. Or even what they stand for. I mean, apart from agreeing with the Prime Minister a lot. Or, as Keir Starmer would say, the Prime Minister. That's very annoying. I mean, I know if you say words a lot, then you tend to, just drop some syllables. But it's very annoying. I don't know whether it's just me that has his fur rubbed up the wrong way when Keir Starmer says the Prime Minister. It's not that hard. Just say Prime Minister. Prime Minister. According to opinion polling, a change in leadership is going to make never mind one way nor the other. Unprompted, the Conservatives trail Labour by 7 points when they say, how about if Boris Johnson sticks around? That's an extra 5 points of unpopularity. So I don't think it's a support for the Labour Party. It's just that they really, really hate Boris Johnson. Why might that be?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
But even with Rishi Sunak, Fishy, or the Brains Truss at the helm, the party still trails by at least 3 points. Things have really changed, I think. And the opposition must be rubbing its hands together at the very thought of the Brains Truss taking over. I mean, Liz Truss, is that the best that the Tories have got? Is Miranda not available? Or how about Sweep? Get Luby Lou on the phone. They might need her to step in. I just can't believe it. The Foreign Secretary, Liz Truss, has become the favourite to succeed Boris Johnson among Conservative Party members. Which is weird. I mean, that Liz Truss is actually the Foreign Secretary, a job which used to carry some cachet. Foreign Secretary, it used to be a thing, remember? That's up until Theresa May gave the job to Bodger in what I can only assume was a joke. And then the previous incumbent was tetchy, angular, humanoid Dominic Deckchair-Raab. And now Liz Truss is in that job. The Foreign Secretary. Used to be our chief diplomat. Now it's a sort of international insult to show the world what we really think of foreigners. And now, apparently, Liz Truss is the favourite among Tory party members to take over from his imperial bodgeness. I mean, do they have a death wish, or do they really think that Liz Truss is the right person to run their party, and by extension the country? Really? Just over, it's not overwhelming. 23% of Tory party members say they'd like to see Liz Truss, the Foreign Secretary, become Prime Minister. That's the most popular choice. 23%. 20% want the Chancellor, Fishy Sunak, to take the reins. So it's not an overwhelming vote of confidence. In fact, it's actually pretty embarrassing. 23% for Liz Truss. That's the top choice. I mean, it's an indication that even the true blues don't think much of any of their current options. But they say she's on manoeuvres to get the top job. Tory sources say that Liz Truss has been hosing. She's been hosing them down with champagne, if you please. Dubbed Fizz with a Liz. At private Mayfair Members Club, 5 Hertford Street. And MPs have set up a Liz for Leader WhatsApp group. Well, why not? I mean, you know, if the qualification for a leader is the ability to raise a laugh, I'm smirking just thinking about it. Some polling in The Guardian measuring the impact of different party leaders on voting intention. Unprompted, it's Conservatives on 32, Labour 39. With Johnson on leader, the Tories are down on 29 and Labour on 41. Wow. The only one that's less popular than that is if Michael Gove was leader. Respondents said as with one voice, just at the very idea. You're about as popular as a police raid on a nightclub, Michael Gove.